What's going on, everybody? Profit with Profit here. Rough week last week with the bets. The video I put out really didn't have the quality I wanted it to have because I was in a rush and we were traveling. So I also wasn't able to make a final bets video where it was going to have updated picks and an actual betting breakdown spreadsheet. But I'm not sure how well it would have worked out either way because Bo Nickel just I don't even want to say his name right now. We're just going to ignore that until we get to it. We'll do a mini recap real quick, and then we're going to do the breakdown for UFC 315. Juliana Miller, Ivana Petrovic. I had some bets with Petrovic, and she just, her corner didn't teach her what an underhook was. She had zero knowledge on how to defend takedowns. Really, probably one of the worst fights of the entire year, and I'm not exaggerating that. And there's been some pretty bad fights this year, so we're not going to talk on that too much. She was way better in the striking, but like I said, she couldn't stop takedowns to save her life. Thomas Peterson, pretty easy win. Kind of did what we thought he was going to do. Wrestled a guy who doesn't know how to get off his back either. Pretty boring fight. I mean, he tried to look for some submissions and try to do a little bit of ground and pound. The ground and pound, he would gas himself out every 10 seconds. And then the submission, he rushed the position on the Darce and kind of just was like, all right, I'm not going to get the choke. Like, he knew how to do the choke, but there wasn't any, like, skill with it. And then he ended up losing it. Easy 30-27, though. Pretty boring fight. Bolaños Kwong Lee. Now, this is one of the reasons why I said I was annoyed with why I didn't put out another video because around Thursday or Friday, I ended up watching more videos on some fights of Kwong Lee's previous fights because when I did the breakdown, I had some of his fights I had watched, and then same with Bolaños, I hadn't watched all of them. And then I did a little bit more research on it, and I really thought about the ground game of Bolaños. I mean, the Cortavius Romeo's fight showed it pretty well. Even though he won that fight, it showed this guy has some serious weaknesses off of his back. And we saw it again with Kwong Lee. Kwong Lee took him down, and he literally could not get up. I think he no, I think in the first round he took him down, and he was there the entire round. And on the feet, he looked dangerous, like I knew he was going to look dangerous. I thought on the feet, if it stayed on the feet, Bolaños would find something. And I think in the beginning of that second round, he did kind of touch Kwong Lee a little bit, and Lee knew immediately, okay, this is no, I'm back to the game plan. And the game plan was perfect. He took him down, and then eventually got that submission. Bolaños didn't tap. He just went completely out. Got to give him credit for going out on a shield, but Kwong Lee, again, annoyed that I wasn't able to make another video because that was my updated pick. I had bet on him for that fight, and it's just unfortunate, but yeah, Kwong Lee got it done. I'll call it a loss because I didn't put out another videos, but you guys see my vision on it. Wish I could have just put out an updated video. Jillian Robertson, Marina Rodriguez. I think originally, this is another thing. I think originally I bet on, or I picked Marina Rodriguez in that first video, and I ended up like the next day or two, I thought about it more, and I was like, man, this is just Jillian Robertson is not going to stay on the feet. She's not going to give Marina Rodriguez the chance. And Marina, when she gets taken down, she stays there. Jillian, one of her better performances overall. I was worried maybe about her gas tank because of her previous performance, but looks like she fixed some things up. Dominant win, easy win. Loiter versus Bakoyev. This was a hard fight to watch too because Loiter, I don't know, it's just like I thought he was better than that, and apparently I was wrong. And I told you guys I was gonna have to eat my words on it, and I am gonna eat my words on it. But I mean, Loiter, he's up against the fence. He shot maybe one takedown, I think, and then I guess he was disheartened after that. He was like, I'm not gonna shoot anymore, even though that's his only path to victory against a guy like Bakoyev. And we see him go up against the cage, and I'm watching. I'm like, okay, here we go. Gets rocked, gets right back up. I'm like, okay, man, you've shown off you've got a chin, right? You're a human though. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. One of these shots is gonna put you down, and doesn't matter how much heart you have. So like, when's the takedown coming? And I watched him dance around the cage for about 40 seconds, exchanging with Bakoyev, not just shielding up and staying there and thinking, hey, maybe he'll gas out, but he was trying to exchange with Bakoyev. And I don't know, just really low fight IQ from Loiter. I guess I'll give props to Bakoyev, even though I still think he's a bit overrated. I picked him in his first fight, but I mean, I don't think there's anything he showed me where I'm like, this guy is so impressive. I think, Loiter hangs on another couple minutes, and Bakoyev would have looked like a fish out of water because you don't throw those kind of punches and keep that kind of energy. And we've seen it in some of his previous fights. Bakoyev gas out, and yeah, I think Loiter's gonna look back at that fight and kind of wonder what he was doing too. I don't know. Yana Santos, Misha Tate. I had Yana Santos right in the first video. I was when the updated video. If I did that, I'll stop saying that. But she was my confident pick. I don't know if I established that she was a confident pick, but she was one that I thought really would win this fight, especially at an underdog price tag. And the third round did get sketchy because once she got taken down, she couldn't get back up. But it was weird. Maybe it was like a cardio issue because first two rounds, every time Misha Tate tried to take her down, she could not take her down. Yana Santos was like minus 5,000 going into the third round or something like that. And everyone was cheering, let's go, Tate, when she's took her down finally in the third round. And I was sitting there watching, like, come on, guys. Like, I don't think she's going to submit Santos. Santos just doesn't have the energy or doesn't have the technique to get back up once she's actually down. But it's the part of getting her down first is the issue. And the first two rounds, Misha Tate shot and shot and shot, and she just couldn't get past Yana Santos. And I would say she got a pretty dominant win. The third round blew, but other than that, I think she got a good win right there. Stevens, Jones. I think I picked Jones. I think I understood the side of taking a wild shot on Stevens. And if you did, I mean, you weren't too disappointed because, I mean, he went out there and he brawled. Jones came on the mic after the third round and he was like, hey, guys, sorry about that third round. I had to do what I had to do. And I completely understood. From an entertainment standpoint, sucks because, we didn't see him keep brawling like he was doing in the previous two rounds. But as a UFC fighter, when you're at that level, man, and, maybe one of the judges gave one of the other rounds to Stevens, and Jones was busted up. Stevens, maybe that I'm the hardest hitting 145er statement was true, even though this was at 55. But I mean, we saw Jones was landing more often, and it still looked like Stevens was the one putting a bigger beat down until that third round or that end of that second round. Stevens got cut up a little bit too, but yeah, overall pretty good win for Jones. I think he did win all three rounds, even though like again the damage looked a little iffy, but Jones was landing at a higher clip. And he did what he had to do to get the win, and he still made it entertaining. He could have wrestled like that the entire fight, and he chose to, put on a fight for the fans. So I think he got the best of both worlds in that fight, and the UFC should keep him around. I think he's a pretty good fighter. This next one, I was super confident in City, and I'm happy when a super confident pick wins, but a little bit disappointing when you don't see them, go out there and do it in a more dominant fashion. Like, yes, he won all the rounds. The third round, maybe you can give that third round to Smotherman because City was just on his bike kind of running around the cage like, hey, I know I got two in the bag already, so I'm going to get my win and get out of here. But I think if City went for it a little bit more, I think he definitely could have got a submission. Like, City's nasty on the ground. We saw him get close to getting Smotherman out of there, and I don't really remember all the exchanges, but I know Smotherman was in some danger and he got out of it. But again, I'm trying to digress. I think City could have got the finish if he really went for it. But either way, happy with the win, dominant win. Montel Jackson, Daniel Marcos. I picked Marcos, I believe, in my video. And it was one of those where it's like, this guy's undefeated. He's gotten some dicey wins, like, with the judges. So I had to take that into account. Like, hey, maybe the judges want to keep this guy's streak going. And at plus 170 or whatever it was, I was like, man, it's fine taking a shot on it. But super upsetting watching the fight in live action because Marcos looked like he had staph infection times 10 or something. I don't know. This guy was in there just gassed from the beginning. He looked so tired. He looked so sloppy. Jackson wasn't impressive either. That whole fight was, again, it's like, how do you compete for worst fight of the night when we had Ivana Petrovic and Juliana Miller? But these guys did it, man. That fight blew. They were like dapping each other up, like, good stuff, man. Like, I don't know. I was like, whatever, man. I can't wait for this next fight to happen. We're skipping that, man. It was a boring fight. Whatever. Good one for Jackson. Ponzinibbio, Daniel Rodriguez. Daniel Rodriguez, in that updated, last time I'm talking about it, in that updated video, if I were to post it and make it, Daniel Rodriguez was going to be the lock of the card. That's who I truly thought was at a crazy spot as far as value. Because I'm trying to do plus 100s and up, either parlays or singles. And Daniel Rodriguez, I think he went out there and he looked like, this guy should have been a bigger favorite. Yes, he lost the second round. I get it. But the first, he almost got Santiago out of there. Santiago gets dropped by everyone and somehow finds a way to either get up or he takes his fourth knockdown and his brain just doesn't know where he's at anymore. But anyways, Daniel Rodriguez, he went in the third round and he was like, all right, man. I think his corner talked to him. They're like, hey, that second round, you probably dropped it. We need you to go out there and just put a stamp on it. And he went out there and he put a stamp on it. Santiago was out. It's funny, Santiago gets up protesting and he's falling over protesting because he's still all rocked. But either way, good win for Rodriguez. Crazy that he was an underdog. Like, I know he hasn't fought crazy competition and he has some losses in there, but for how much Santiago, the damage he takes, you just can't back him against someone with precise striking like Rodriguez. And he really put it on him in that fight. Bo Nickel, Rainer de Ritter. Corey Sandhagen, Davison Figueiredo. Good fight. Sort of in the beginning because we got to see Figueiredo exchange a little bit with Corey. And I thought Corey was just going to just lay and pray for that whole fight. But, I mean, he was willing to exchange. And it was more Figueiredo initiating the grappling exchanges. And then Corey, once, he took Figgy down, it's like, why get this guy up when his real chance at winning right now is like a mean overhand right or something up top. So Corey fought a really smart fight. Kind of just kept Figgy on the ground, kept throwing stuff at him. Second round came around. We all saw it. Figgy hurts his leg in those weird exchanges. Like, Figgy just kept trying to go for an ankle hook or ankle lock, ankle pick, heel hook. And Corey was, like, getting bored. He's like, man, are you serious? Like, I was like, are you serious? Like, I get it to try and get up, but, I mean, it looked like he was really trying to get a finish. And I was like, dude, Corey Sandhagen is the last guy who's going to tap. He has, like, the most flexible arms and legs you'll ever see. And yeah, it was a pretty good win for Corey. I think it was dominant. I don't think Figgy really had any moments. And I want to see Corey versus Sean O'Malley. That's what I want to see. I know he was calling for the title shot. So maybe if Sean gets this win against Merab, they can make that fight. But either way, even if Sean loses, I really want to see Corey Sandhagen versus Sean O'Malley. I think that would be a masterclass if it stays on the feet. I don't think Corey would. All right, we're not going to talk about that fight right now, but that's what I want to see. I would love to see Corey versus Sean O'Malley. I think it would be a striking masterclass, and I think that'd be a great fight. But yeah, we're going to forget about this card. Not a great card. I was very rushed in my video, so I'm not going to do that again. If I really don't feel like I have the time and effort to put out a high quality video, I'm not going to post one because I know there's people that are putting legitimate money on this, and I don't want you guys to waste it based on a half-ass video. So that's not going to happen again. Apologies if you guys did. And let's lock in. New week, new card. I think there's going to be some serious money to be made this week. And we'll jump right into the first fight. We got Brad Katona versus Bezkat Almakhan. I was originally pretty confident in Bekzat just because of the hype I knew of him coming into his UFC debut. And then I weighed a lot of his hype with that one moment with Umar where he clips Umar on the top of the head, kind of, wobbles Umar. Umar goes to his knees and then gets a takedown. And I think I just had like this weird, I don't know, rose glasses on when I was thinking about his next fight because I'm like, man, this guy's a nasty striker. Look what he did to Umar and look what he did to these other guys. And then I was like, okay, clear mind. Let's really think about this guy. He's crushed some cans. Cool. It looks good. That's what picks you up off the regional scene to go to the UFC. And then he gets a good moment against Umar. And then the rest, it was domination. And yes, you have to kind of, take it with a grain of salt because it's Umar Nurmagomedov. He's going to do that to practically anybody. But Bekzat landed like 4 strikes the entire fight. 15 minutes, he landed like 4 strikes. He was on his back for 14 minutes and some change. And that has to, you got to, again, take it with a grain of salt. It's Umar Nurmagomedov, but he was on his back and he stayed there. There wasn't real attempts to get up. He wasn't dangerous anymore once he got taken down. And I think Umar really laid out a blueprint for Brad Katona here. If Katona's smart, and I think he's smart, I think Katona fights to win. And what I mean by that is he doesn't try to be like, oh, okay, this guy's a striker, let's go, I think Katona's going to follow that blueprint, and I think he's going to take Bezcott down. And my bad, I'm butchering his name, but I think he's going to get takedowns. Might be a 29-28, depending on, what happens on the feet. Katona can handle himself anywhere, though. I rate this loss to Gene Matsumoto very highly because it was a close fight, and Gene Matsumoto should realistically be undefeated. I think he beat Rob Font. We're not going to go into that, but Katona giving Gene Matsumoto his hardest fight, arguably, that's a big win in my book because Gene Matsumoto should be in the top 10. And now Katona, he gets this kind of UFC debutant because I don't know. It's weird because, again, it was an Umar short notice plus 800 against him. So, I kind of view this as more of his, real intro fight. And I think Katona is going to come out here and I think he's going to fight good for his Canadian people. I think he's going to do what he has to do. I think he's going to get takedowns. And I see him winning a tough decision here. Again, it all depends on what happens on the feet because Bekzat does have serious power. So if he lands one clean and Katona gets rocked, that could be the end of it. But I think Katona's going to get the takedowns. Even if he doesn't hold him down as much as Umar does, it'll steal the rounds, look good for the Canadian people. They're going to be cheering for him. I think he's going to steal this win. And yeah, we're going to go Brad Katona. I wouldn't mess with any other plays because he's already plus 150, so I wouldn't go into the methods. But Brad Katona, I like him right now. Next fight, we got Daniel Santos versus Ji Young Lee. Odds always have to be a factor when you're considering who you're picking. Also, when you're strictly talking about betting, because if I'm doing just straight up who I think a little bit of the better fighter is, it's Ji Young Lee. But the odds have shifted dramatically. And right now, I kind of want to favor Santos right now. I would want to play Santos. And I know you might be thinking, dude, you're doing a breakdown, But it's so slim. And now that the odds are out of order, I think you have to play Santos. I was originally Ji Young Lee, maybe 52% edge. But he had a little bit more. I like the time that he's been active versus Santos being out for a minute. And the odds have switched too much, in my opinion, to play league now. He's minus 140. Originally, he was plus 140, which was all over that. And now Santos is plus 120. And I get it. The odds, I think, are reflecting a lot of money, obviously, coming in on Lee. But also, he hasn't fought since 2023. But I think in these UFC fights he's had, he's looked better than what Lee has. And this is a bad loss, mainly because of not just the way he lost, but the IQ. Because Haider Emil, all he is he's a brawler, right? He wants to go in there and exchange. And it's not like Lee didn't know that going into this fight. He did film study on it. His team told him that, and he still decided to stand there and bang with him. And that, it just, it leaves you head scratching. And with Santos, he has some good wins in here. John Castaneda KO, that's a good win. The Munoz is okay. This Julio Arce loss is, kind of meh. But other than that, I mean, I think he has more in his arsenal. It's just, a matter of how much is this break going to take away from his actual skills? Is he going to go out there and look gun shy? What is it going to be? But at plus money and with the skills that I have seen from him previously and the lack of IQ I've seen from Lee in his last fight, now I've got to play Santos. I think he's a good play right now. I don't know why they don't have the odds up right now. But he's at plus 120, plus 130 right now. And with those odds and the fact that he has more ways to win, I don't know as necessarily, again, like I said in the beginning, about the refining of his skills. Lee might be a little bit better, but I think on the ground, Santos, has the edge. On the feet is where it gets a little meh. But Santos is going to be my pick for right now. He's probably going to stay that way. And we'll move on from there. This fight, I'm very, very in on. Marc-Andre Barriault versus Bruno Silva. The odds are only this way because of these 3 losses right now and the fact that it's 3 consecutive losses. Not really this Chris Curtis loss, but this Pyfer and Stoltzfus loss. That's what's keeping these odds in check. If these went to decision and he still lost, he'd be minus 300. He'd be minus 400 probably. And I understand why he's minus 155, and I have nothing against it because for me that's money signs all over it. But for Silva, I mean, how can you justify him at plus 130 when his for the past 2 years, I'd say he looks like he doesn't want to fight. That's different from, getting caught up in the moment, maybe just lapse of judgment too in there too soon and getting caught like Andre. But dude, this guy looks like he hasn't wanted to fight for a minute. Like this Ismail Nardia fight, when I watched it, I didn't bet on anyone in it, but I just watched it and I was like, dude, how is this guy in the UFC, man? Like I was just saying to myself, this guy's getting cut for sure. So when I saw that he was still in the UFC and they're giving him this fight, I was shocked. I think this is a setup of all setups. I think the odds are to keep people in check, maybe to get people like, man, minus 155. For the people that don't really know what's going on, they're probably thinking like, I'll stay away from this one. I think they did this very intentionally. I think Barrial knocks out Silva in the early first 2 rounds. I think this is going to be a good win for Mark to get back on track. I think it's to set it up for the Canadian crowd to go crazy, hype their man up, break that losing streak. And I'm all over this play. I would take Andre just straight up by the money line because you don't know what happens. KO is the realistic outcome, but just minus 155. They're handing you it. They're saying, here, Mark Andre is going to win. Hammer it. Trust me, guys. Just leave it at that. Bruno Silva looks like absolute garbage. I think Andre gets this win. I think he does it convincingly, and the crowd's going to go wild. Next fight, Navajo Sterling, Ivan Erslan. Not going to dive too much into this one because I think this is another fight that they're doing intentionally. Navajo Sterling, his last fight, is maybe what's probably keeping the odds in checks. Even though it was a win, I think everyone was kind of expecting, hey, this guy, he's knocking everyone out. He's a monster size for the division, athletic freak, trains with Adesanya. And he went out there and kind of lackluster performance. I know a lot of people were taking him inside the distance or probably under on the rounds. But it was a disappointing performance for what you would have liked to see because Tokos was kind of there for the kill. And I think Navajo showed a little bit of, I know there was a little bit of disappointment, but he also practiced a lot of patience because I know a lot of guys in that position, young up and coming like that, would have been all over it to just, throw everything and potentially gas out, get themselves in a really bad position. I don't know. But I think he fought smart. And I think the UFC gave him somebody that they know will go out there and, kind of brawl a little bit more. Like, yes, Erslan does have the wrestling. He's not known for his wrestling, though. Like, this guy, he likes to stand. He likes to bang. And I think, I think this is a very intentional fight. They know Sterling's the longer guy. They know he's the stronger guy, the younger guy, has more skills, in my opinion. And I mean, just look at these 6'4" to 6'2". He's got 7 inches of reach, over half a foot of reach. I think this is, they want the Marc Andre knockout and then they want the Sterling knockout. And I think that's what they're going to get. I'd be very shocked if this fight goes to the distance. I think Sterling might have a really dominant first round. Erslan gets kind of frustrated. Is like, what, screw this guy. This young guy ain't going to come in here and mess with me. Going to kind of go in there and then get caught with something. That's truly how I see it going. I don't think just like a jab's going to get him. I think it's going to be Erslan just tries to close the distance, gets annoyed, and then gets caught with something. So Sterling, very confident pick along with Andre. But I would take him by KO. I really do think he gets it done this time. I'd be surprised if this goes the distance. His money line is not at 290 anymore. I think it's in like the 330s now. So I understand if you want to, get that knockout prop, as I think it's more than likely. If you want to play it safe, though, you can take his money line. But either way, I think this is going to be a dominant win for Sterling. Next fight, we got Bukauskas versus Ian Cutelaba. This should be a good fight for as long as it lasts. I think both of these guys kind of knew what they were signing up for when they saw the names, but it's also just inherently the type of guys they are. Ian Cutelaba definitely has the harder hands. He has a little bit more background in wrestling. I don't think it's going to save him here, though, and I was kind of surprised that the odds were where they are. But then at the same time, I look back at history and these guys have been kind of but maybe they're finding a little bit of resurgence. But this last win for both of them tells me a lot. And this is what I'll tell you. The Ibo Aslan submission is a good win, but they didn't. It doesn't tell the whole story because of really what happened in that fight was Kutelaba was rocked hard and Ebo just starts throwing hooks. He starts throwing whatever to get him out of there. Kind of like how I was talking about how Sterling practiced patience. If that was Sterling in that fight or someone with a little more patience and IQ, they probably would have found the shot to finish Kutelaba off. But instead, Ebo goes in there and he just starts throwing whatever with everything in his power. Kutelaba finds the takedown, submits him. That was just low IQ moment. He had the win in his bag. Kutelaba was hurt, and then he just threw it away. So I don't rate this win super high. Like, yes, he found the will and dog to keep going after he was rocked, but it was more of an Ibo Aslan loss than a Kutelaba win, if that makes sense. You guys are catching what I'm saying on that. And then this next one, again, I can't rate the Sequeira knockout too high because it's Rafael Sequeira. He hasn't looked good at all in the UFC, but he looked pretty much perfect in that fight. I don't think Modestas got caught with anything. He might have landed a few strikes, but like he looked patient and he waited for the shot and he found the shot and he was done for. And that's what I'm talking about in this fight. I think Ian Kutelaba and Modestas, they're going to both kind of exchange. And what's going to happen is Kutelaba is going to get caught with something before Bukauskas gets caught with something. And I think Modestas gets an early knockout, round 1, round 2, somewhere in that range. But I think Kutelaba is going to get caught up with something. And that's going to be my prediction. But maybe even the under rounds if you guys want to play that. That's not a bad play. But yeah, I think this is Bukauskas' fight to win. Cleaner striking, less power or whatever, but I think he has the IQ to stay standing up, not get taken down, and eventually just, find that shot or put enough shots on him to eventually get that win. Next fight, not going to jump into this one too much either. It's a pretty straightforward win for Jasudavicius. This is another one. Again, even though the UFC knows what they're doing with certain fights, we've seen it before in the past. Canadian, they want to put someone in there that's favorable. This is one of those. Again, anything can happen. They've had that happen multiple times before where, the guy they want to win doesn't win. But I think this one is a very, very clear win for Jasudavicius against a much smaller opponent and someone with the hole in her game is the wrestling, and then someone where her whole game is the wrestling. So I see Jasudavicius going out there getting early takedowns. I'd be really surprised, honestly, if Jasmine doesn't find a way to finish this fight. She's much bigger. She's got longer arms. Andrade, when she gets taken down, she's kind of at that point now where she's like, all right, we'll wait for her next round to start, and then I'll try and throw something whenever she's in one of those situations of like, I'm not going to be able to get up, but, I still got these hands. And I don't think Andrade's power is going to be able to save her against someone like this who, when she takes you down, she keeps you down. So early fight is going to be Jasudavicius. I think she gets a dominant decision or submission. Again, I'm leaning submission, maybe even TKO. But I think Jasmine's going to go out there and put a stamp on this fight. I think she wants to go out there and put it on a dominant fight. So we'll take Jasmine. Very confident pick. Next fight, we got Mike Malott versus Charles Radke. This should be a very good fight. I'm excited. I'm just pumped for this fight. It's one of the probably top 1, top 2 fights that I'm most looking forward to this week. Mainly just because of Radke. I got to be honest with you. I mean, he brings it to everyone. He goes out there, he fights, he's in your face, he's got serious power. He's not just an annoying, like, dude, quit pressing me. He's not like a Marab, like just on you. It's like a Marab. Okay, I shouldn't have even brought Marab into it. But I'm saying his pressure isn't just an annoying pressure. It's a dangerous pressure. It's like when his hooks are nasty, man. His right hook is straight money. And again, this is one of those fights where I was kind of on the fence about. I was kind of leaning Malott just because Malott does have the better overall skill set, in my opinion. Like the wrestling, that could get dicey in this one, but I'm going to trust that when Radke was talking about, hey, I've really worked this camp on my wrestling defense, that he's being honest about it. He's got a good team around him. So I don't think it's going to be a major issue. That's not to say I don't think Malott gets some takedowns, but I think Radke is going to keep this fight standing. He's going to find his way back up to his feet if he does, and uh, I see Radke getting a finish in this one. Honestly, I think Malott that loss to Neil Magny was very telling because you got a guy like Neil Magny on his way out. He's got all these wins, all these losses or whatever, but this is not a prime Neil Magny anymore. UFC, this is the one. They knew what they were doing with this one. They said, here's Neil Magny in Canada. Go out there, destroy him. And what did Malott do? He went out there and he was destroying him for about 13 minutes. And then Neil Magny gets on him, and it looked like Mike was like, all right, man, you got it. Eat some ground and pound, and it was over. It was just like such a lack of heart. And after that, I just couldn't back him. I mean, I say that and then I bet on him against Trevin Giles, but it was Trevin Giles, and that was more to see like, Malott's the better fighter. Let's see where he's at. I think he wins, but how does he win? And we all saw how he won. He was afraid to throw any strikes. He looked like he just wanted to cruise to a win without taking any damage, didn't want to put anything at risk. And when you got a guy like that who's afraid to pull the trigger against someone like Radke who is on it all the time, I think it's just a recipe for disaster. I wouldn't be shocked, though, if this is one of those fights where Malott is like, okay, I'm woken up. Now I'm going to go out here and just, be all dominant again. But I'm favoring the side of Radke going out there, finding a shot, putting Malott down, getting some sort of TKO, KO. Because a decision, I just don't think it's likely with the type of guy Radke is. So I'm going to be picking Radke right now. If you want to pick him, it makes sense to take his KO because, like I keep saying, I don't see a submission happening or a decision. I see him hurting him in some way or another and then just throwing. So Radke money line if you want, but I think the smarter play is Radke by KO, TKO. And yeah, should be a good, entertaining fight. Dog should be barking, hopefully. Not touching this fight, not clicking on it. Benoit Saint Denis is going to kill this dude, Kyle. I don't know why this was the best fight they were able to come up with. Gamrot was saying he was down to fight. Really sucks Joel Alvarez versus Benoit was going to be such a banger. Unfortunate. But yeah, this is a terrible matchmaking in my opinion. Benoit should probably get him in the first round. I'd be surprised if this goes to the second round, but whatever. They got a Canadian. Maybe that's why they did it. This dude, Kyle, I haven't watched any tape on him. Like, I've heard of him, but it's going to be a slaughter. Unfortunate that they're, doing that to him in Canada, but whatever. Next fight, Alexa Grasso versus Natalia Silva. There's not really too much to break down in this fight because I think it's one of the simpler ones to break down, and that's because Silva is basically like an upgraded version of Grasso. And I know you may be thinking, like, what does that mean? Every fighter's different, and they are. But let me explain. Like, Natalia Silva hits faster. She hits stronger. Her kicks are faster. Her kicks are harder. Her grappling is, kind of on par. But I think she's better in every aspect. And it feels weird saying, like, this is a passing of the torch moment because Grasso's 31 and Silva's 28. Like, there's not a huge age gap. But it's just because the fact of, like, Grasso just being a champion, losing it. And I just think this is a terrible fight for them to try and get Grasso back on track. And I tried to find a way to be, like, on the side of Grasso just because she's, like, a plus 170 underdog right after being a champion. But I don't see a way for her to win this fight. She's not a huge grappler. Like, yes, she got the Valentina Shevchenko choke, but that kind of just fell into her lap, essentially. With, we all saw how that happened, but I don't see a way for her to win this fight. Maybe if this fight is a 5-rounder, the experience and the cardio might be able to save Grasso, steal a decision, but for 3 rounds, I think Silva's going to be able to go hard for the 15 minutes. She's not going to have to worry about extra rounds. I think she's going to be able to really just, make it look better. Make the shots look more damaging, throw more of them out there. I see a dominant decision coming from Silva. Odds aren't accurate right now. I think Silva's like closer to like minus 300 right now, unless they drop somehow. but these are not accurate. Yeah, but Silva's going to be the confident pick. I like her a lot this week. And move on to Jose Aldo, Amin Zahabi. I'm saying that like that because it's just weird seeing Jose Aldo fight a guy like Zahabi. Um, I think Jose Aldo goes out there and puts on a dominant striking fest. Zahabi, his way to win would be the other way that Marab won and the way that Bautista won, which is really just holding Jose Aldo down. And not down, but against the fence. That's how Jose Aldo loses, when people hold him, because he's not an easy guy to take down. We've seen that before. That's why he gets held up against the fence. And Zahabi might try and implement that game plan, but I think Aldo, he's worked on it a little bit. I don't think it's much better than what Bautista and Marab did to him, but I think Jose Aldo, he's game planned a little bit in case Zahabi does try to go out there and do that. I don't see Zahabi really trying to implement that, though. I think he'll be in his head a little bit about how he's been performing and think, hey man, I'm good enough on the feet. And I think he's going to find out very quickly that he is not good enough on the feet. I also have seen a lot of people, though. I just glanced at this age thing. A lot of people are talking about like, man, Aldo, man, the age, man, it's scaring me. But dude, I feel like no one spoke on this. Zahabi's 37. He's not a young guy. Like, he looks a little bit younger than Aldo. I'll agree there, but I think Aldo is still a very, very good fighter. Like, he belongs in the top 10. That's what I'm trying to say by that. He's not what he was in his championship levels, but I mean, when you go out there and you see him fight, he doesn't look like, dude, this guy is just a ghost or a shell of what he used to be. He still looks very good. And I think he's going to go out there and I think he's going to get a dominant win over Zahabi. I don't see really a finish coming from anywhere, any side in this fight. But I see Aldo going out there and it's going to be an experience thing. And just, he's got skills, man. Aldo has skills. And I think he's going to go out there and get a dominant decision. So Aldo's a very confident pick this week as well. Next fight, we got the co-main event. This one was another one that I was on the fence about, and then I kind of jumped off the fence because I was like, quit being in your head about this, man. Like, Valentina has not looked good recently. She got the win over Grasso, but we all saw what happened there. And we saw the loss against Grasso, and I mean, we've just seen the previous performance over Valentina. We all know she's a legend in the women's MMA. We know, but her best is far behind her. She's still a great fighter, but the elite level woman, and there's few of them in this division. But a one like Fior that is really kind of seeming to find her prime, find just a way to really manipulate that size that she has, and I don't see a way for Shevchenko to win this one. Like, I guess you can say experience might find a way in the 5-rounder, but Fior's gone 5 rounds, and look at her wins. It's not like she got an easy way to the title here. She beat Blanchfield, and I think Blanchfield is a very good fighter. She's got serious takedown threat. She's undersized for the division, but she's still a tremendous athlete for this women's division. She beat Namajunas, kind of underwhelming. She landed more, but she was also missing quite a bit. But again, like I'm saying, I'm judging off this most recent fight. She dominated Blanchfield, 50-45, clear as day. And I mean, look who she's beating. These are not easy wins. Mayra Bueno Silva, say what you want, but she's a good fighter. Caitlin, still a good fighter. Jennifer Maia, not so much. But Rose Namajunas in this Erin Blanchfield fight, I think were great fights to see where she's at and if she's ready for this top level competition. And she went out there and she truly showed it. And I see a dominant win coming from Fior here. I can see Shevchenko maybe taking maybe 1 round, maybe 2 rounds, just based on some championship tactics. I don't know really how else to put it. But I think Fior is just massive for this division. And I know you may look at it and be like, she's got 2 inches. But when she goes out there, you see what I mean. It's like, she looks like she's 150 pounds. She's massive. And I think if Valentina tries to wrestle her like she did with El Grasso, she's going to get met with a harsh reality that Fior's not going to go down. And on the feet, maybe Shevchenko has more in her arsenal. But I think, again, it's just one of those like, I don't know, bigger, stronger, younger person coming in there and pass the torch moment, puts too much on Shevchenko, and maybe gets a closer decision, maybe gets a dominant one. But I think the winning side is Fior. She is not the underdog either. I don't. This is very unupdated. Then she's like minus 150 right now, so I think that's going to be the last time we see Fior at those odds for a minute because there's not really anyone else in that flyweight division that can pose a bigger threat than Shevchenko. And even then, again, I think Fior wins this fight. My bad, I yapped a lot for this one, but I think we're gonna get a good win from Fior here, good odds, and we will move on to this main event: Belal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena. This fight, for anyone that even remotely watches fighting, knows what this fight is. We got a elite level, top caliber boxer in JDM, and then of extremely well rounded, gritty champion in Belal Muhammad. And I think this is a blessing right now with the hype on JDM for people looking to bet on this fight, because I thought this fight truly Belal was going to be minus 350, minus 400, and maybe I'm completely wrong on it, and we'll see on Saturday again on how dominant the win that I think happens for Belal. But I don't think JDM is on the level of Belal Muhammad, and you can just look at their recent performances. Like JDM was losing to Gilbert Burns until he finds a knee in the third round. He was down on every judge's scorecard. Well, I think 2 of the 3 judges had it in favor of Gilbert Burns up 2 rounds. And if Gilbert Burns is holding you down for 2 rounds, what do you think Belal Muhammad's going to do? I'm just, I get confused sometimes when people think all of a sudden like, man, didn't you see what JDM did to these other guys? And they didn't watch. It's like they're missing the other 80% of the story. We got how many fight 3 fights ago, he went life and death with Basil, and I don't. And at first I thought Basil was kind of good, and then we saw he got exposed by Obon Elliott, but he went life and death with Basil, and some people even thought Basil won that fight again with takedowns. And if these 2 guys are getting takedowns on you, and Burns is 2 minutes away from winning a decision over you, what do you think Belal Muhammad is going to do? I don't want to hear the, man, JDM's team, that they know they're going to work on the takedown defense. That's not how that works. It doesn't take you, 5-6 months and then, all of a sudden you worked on it, so now you're going to be able to defend everyone's takedowns. That's not how that works. I see Belal going out there. I think he's a little annoyed kind of with how the way the public's viewed him, because, we all know how everyone thinks of Belal. But I think he's going to go out there and I think he's going to be dominant as long as he's not stupid. And what I mean by that is as long as he doesn't try to prove a point of like, I can box with whoever, But I don't see him doing that. And yes, he said in the press conferences, I'm not shooting for takedowns, I'm going to box. That's a load of garbage. He's going to go out there. He's going to be smart. His team's smart. They're going to take JDM down. They're going to wear him out, get him to the point of, his striking won't be much of a threat anymore, and then probably take him down some more. So, my opinion, Belal either gets a strong decision win here, or he opens up late on the ground when JDM's a little bit more tired and finds maybe a TKO, maybe a submission. But I mean, this is the odds again on this one aren't updated. Last time I checked, they keep dropping. Belal's minus 170. So if you want to wait and see if they drop even more, go for it. But I mean, Belal should be your play all day. He should be your play all day. I don't see any way Belal loses this fight unless he decides to stand and try and bang and exchange with JDM. But he's too smart for that. He's worked way too hard to get to this position, and he knows if he loses his belt, he's probably not going to get another shot again. We saw what they did with him. So give me Belal by dominant decision, maybe TKO, maybe submission. Those are all stretches. But this should be a good win for Belal right here. Shut some people up. But again, I think these odds are just a lot of favoritism because people don't like Belal, and a lot of people like the striking backgrounds of other people over grapplers too, unless it's Khabib. But yeah, final pick is Belal. We'll do an updated video probably maybe Thursday or Friday with a quick pick video. I know it's tomorrow, but like a quick overall, just confirm all my picks and then throw some bets in there. But yeah, that's going to wrap up this video. We'll see you guys maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday. We'll see. But this has been the video for today. Terrible ending, whatever. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you soon. Peace.